Most people that are working on reprogramming their subconscious mind are working on the wrong thing, because they're working on visualization, affirmations, writing in their journal, and positive thinking. But the problem with that is that it's all going to the wrong layer, the 5%. And the 95% that is actually running your behavior, your patterns, your ceilings, your automatic responses stays completely intact. Here's the thing. The reason why your patterns keep returning has nothing to do with your discipline or your will. What it ultimately comes down to is that you're focusing on only the 5% that is visible. And if you're only focused on that, then you're going to miss the other 95%, which is handling and running the entire show. So I want to draw this out here so you can see visually. So how this typically plays out is you have a gap, and really more so awareness of one side versus the other. So this is like a little iceberg here, and this is everything under, okay? This is the 5%, and this is the 95%, okay? Every method, every strategy, every framework about personal development and becoming a better version of yourself is always centered typically around here in terms of your conscious mind, what you can become aware of, what you currently and consciously know that is going on. But you don't have the other picture here of what's really happening, what's really governing and running your entire internal operating system. And the reason why most people don't mess with the 95% is because it's a scary situation. Think about it. It's just like going underwater and having to go deep into facing and reflecting upon yourself, upon the reason why you're at your current reality, your current place in life, right? Why you're not higher than you would have thought you would be, because there's a lot of things here that are there that you haven't quite yet faced and realized that that's the reason why you're still exactly where you are. This is essentially where you have your identity that is currently running, that your subconscious mind here, which is the 95%, has accepted as true, has accepted as terms of who you are. Who am I? I'm X, I'm Y, I do ABC, right? That is someone who you have accepted to be internally, and oftentimes it's unknowingly, and it's all happening without your conscious awareness, because it's below that where you're not able to consciously see it. And the reason why this 5% really ever works is because this is where you have like your habits, where you have like discipline, motivation. This is all surface level stuff. And even your behavior. I mean, you can change your behavior, right? Think about this. You can wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm gonna start going to the gym. You can plan it, you can be all motivated. But at the end of the day, if you don't decide at an identity level, okay, that you are a fit person and that you have a fit lifestyle, then no matter how much activity, behavior, motivation, discipline, habits that you try to incorporate in your life, you're not ever going to fully step into that identity, because this is still running as someone who's just not really fit, because you tried to change all the surface layer areas that do not control the real 95%, which is your internal operating system that's running unconsciously. And I see this all the time across all the different founders, creators, and different entrepreneurs that I work with. They've always been able to change all of these surface level areas, okay? The behavior, the motivation, the discipline, the habits, all of that. But when I really dug deeper and tried to figure out, okay, why is your life still where you're at? It's because they hadn't updated and upgraded the internal operating system, which is the subconscious mind. We can think about this as like the OS, okay? Operating system. And think about this as like Windows, Linux, iOS, okay? This is what's required for the system to run effectively for the device, okay? And so if this is running unconsciously without your awareness, then it's just going to be running whatever software program that you inherited without your knowledge. And so this is the biggest issue that I see across individuals that are trying to become a better version of themselves. And there's a very precise way that you go about updating the 95% here, because you don't go with surface level things and actions to fix this unconscious operating system here. You take a completely different route, and it has a completely different language that you must understand and utilize to upgrade and update that. So here's what we're covering today. We're going to go over the subconscious mind, architecture, plus why modern methods fail. We're going to dive deep into exactly how this 95% works and how we need to communicate with it so that we can get the results and outcomes that we actually want. And then the second thing we're going to go over is the ancient reprogramming method. And then finally, we're going to go over the ASMR system. This is a 4-step framework for moving real change below this line here, so you can get the actual outcomes that you want by reprogramming the actual internal operating system that actually matters. So let me write conscious mind here. And this is the subconscious mind, okay? Now, this is where your identity, emotional memory, and automatic behavior and belief filters live. Okay, so think about all the different actions and activities and things that you do, behavior that you do automatically without even thinking. How you see yourself in the world, your identity, the emotional memory in terms of how you react to things. Do you have a positive mental attitude, or are you someone who's pessimistic, who likes to see always the glass half empty versus half full? In terms of your belief systems, how do you view money? How do you view yourself in terms of your limitations? Do you see yourself as someone who is capable, who is able to have and achieve big and better things, or do you have limitations on that? And then what about your automatic behavior that you do without even realizing that you're doing it, right? Think about all of these different things that are happening in your life that you realize, okay, this is happening. I've acted this way. I believe I am this person in terms of my identity. I have all these different activities and actions that happen regularly without me really even thinking about it. And then your belief. So all of this is programmed, and a lot of times it happens between 0 to 7 years old. Okay, this is where you have inherited an internal operating system, likely from your parents and from your environment, from the stories that you tell yourself, the narrative, right? The emotional memory and understanding that you have, that you inherited all from your parents. And so when we want to make real change, we need to be pointing everything to here, to this 95% subconscious mind. And remember when I said the operating system here, and really just the subconscious mind as a whole, is an operating system. That's really ultimately all it is, okay? And the way that you can think about this as well is like, so you have your thoughts, which are apps, okay? These are like applications for different things that you can pull up anytime, right? But you have like your iOS, like your Apple iPhone, okay? And then you have the different apps on there. And then your subconscious is the main device and the software, really the software that is running the system. Okay? So that's how you want to think about that from that perspective. Because once you can see it as just an operating system, as software, as programming, then you can separate yourself from it and you can see it from above. I love making this example here. So having the 5D perspective where you can see everything from the very top, where you're observing the operating system, okay? And you're just seeing it as software. And okay, I have a bug here, I have a bug over there. And then you can replace that to get the actual outcomes that you want. And with this whole system here, the operating system, which is the OS, this determines what these apps do right here, okay? And so if you have an identity that is currently running, okay, right here, that says that you are not someone who is capable or worthy of making a lot of money, then guess what? That you're not going to make any money, or you're going to have very limited amounts of money that you make because you're going to hit a ceiling that your identity hits, and it has no way of reaching above and beyond that because there's no awareness of its potential and its ability to go and see through that. And so you can say all these different affirmations and journal and visualize, but nothing's going to move because the identity is remaining the same. And when the identity remains the same, which drives everything, then you're going to be going in loops, okay? You're going to be going in loops and working with all this surface level activity, which is the behavior, right? The habits, discipline, all of that. And then wonder why you're doing all these different things that everybody taught you, you know, in terms of personal development, getting motivated and writing down your goals and all of that, but then coming to the same place all the time again because you just can't overcome whatever is in your way because your identity doesn't allow you, because it's only trying to protect you and keep you exactly where you are. And when you're doing your visualizations, when you're doing your journaling, your affirmations, all of that, one of the biggest things that isn't being handled and taken care of is your emotional memory. Because your emotions, for the most part, if you're someone who hasn't done a lot of work on yourself, or maybe you've done some work on yourself, for the most part, most people's emotions are like this: up, down, very big spikes, okay? And even people that are very successful, that have had a tremendous amount of success, emotions are going to be typically all over the place because they reach a new milestone, then that becomes a ceiling, and then at some point they just become stuck and they can't surpass that. And so what you want to do, and what really helps with helping and upgrading this whole entire section here of your identity with your emotional memory, is being somebody, identifying somebody who has a positive mental attitude. This is going to fix, as they say in the manifesting space, your frequency, your vibration, you know, where you're vibrating at in terms of your emotional baseline, okay? That's really what we want to be updating here and upgrading, because it's super important to make sure that you're not all over the place, because everything's a reflection. And so if you're always taking a pessimistic, negative side, then guess what? Those types of actions and events are going to be naturally attracted to you, because that's what you are putting out. And so if you are naturally a positive mental attitude where you say, hey, you know what? I'm always going to come out on top. Whatever's happening, it is what it is. I know I'll get through it, but I'm always going to win. I'm always going to be the one who's coming out on top no matter what, because I have something I'm going to learn. I'm going to get a lesson, and it's ultimately going to always be a net positive for me no matter what. And so what you want to do is you want to be very even keel, like this, okay? Not too high, not too low. That is the key, okay? This is probably one of the most important components here in terms of your subconscious mind and being able to have a very solid baseline so you can attract a lot of these positive things. Because think about it. Maybe that next income ceiling, maybe you're hitting 10K a month, okay? Simple example. And you want to hit 50K a month or even 100K a month. This is one identity here, okay? And maybe this identity here is the one that you're currently at, where you're up and down, up and down, up and down. And through brute force and through action, you've been able to get to your place, okay? Making 10K a month, which is a big achievement. Don't get me wrong. However, this 50K a month is another identity. This individual, and likely this one here, has a little bit more of a positive mental attitude, okay? And has a little bit more solid baseline, because this version here of 10K a month can't be that same version that you come into and you step into 50K a month. It's just not possible. It just won't hold, okay? Okay, so now what I want to go over is the 4 ancient secrets of reprogramming the subconscious mind. So let me just quickly erase this here. And so 4 secrets of subconscious reprogramming. Now, here's the thing. Everything that I'm going to walk you through, this isn't new. This is something that the Stoic philosophers, the old mystics, and many others before utilized to their advantage. And this has been used by many different people all throughout time. It's shown up across many different cultures, and all these different cultures never had contact with one or another. So something that was practiced and understood from all different walks of life. And now with this new age modern self-help that's been going on and teaching about like hustle and just take action and just, make new habits, get disciplined, all these different things in terms of motivation, change your behavior, all of that has been focused on this, the 5% surface level, because it's what's popular, it's what's easy, it's what people can easily just be attached to and connect to, because this is super easy to change. Think about it. You can get motivated just for a little bit and get all fired up, but then a week passes by and you're back in again here. So it's really just a business that has been put together in terms of like the whole personal development space, because people can easily connect and resonate with it, and people can keep selling you a product or a service to keep feeding this, okay? Versus when you come in here and you upgrade the subconscious mind, this is the root system that fixes everything, okay? And so all of these different cultures, all these different groups that from the beginning of time, and really for them, what they fully understood about making sure that they're fixing this subconscious mind, right? This 95%. What these all different individuals did in previous times is they understood these 4 different mechanisms, components that helped with changing this here. That's the biggest thing. So the 4 secrets of the subconscious reprogramming. The first one, what they understood is that identity is the root instruction. This rules all, okay? Remember, this is the whole, and I don't even think we've talked about this specifically, but I've talked about this on my other videos. I am. Whenever you say this to yourself or out loud, and then you fill in the blank, this is what drives everything here, okay? No matter what. So you want to have an I am statement that is positive, that is uplifting, and that puts you as someone that is very capable of achieving your desired reality, your desired outcomes. It's super important that you understand that, because Once you understand that this is the root cause for everything, this is your main operating system, then you can fix it, you can adjust it. Because maybe now, think about it, maybe now your I am statement, based off of your current identity and your current life experience and where you're at, it probably says something that isn't very helpful, very useful, because it has you where you currently are. And where you currently are is likely where you're not wanting to be, right? So realizing that this is the root instruction here will help you make sure that you're changing what actually needs to get changed and not focusing on the 5%, which is the conscious mind, which is the surface level area. And so for this, you want to ask yourself, who do you believe you are? At the root, okay? So at the root. And then number 2, emotion is the language. You see, the subconscious mind does not speak in words. It speaks in feelings. This is why you can write in your journal, you can repeat an affirmation, you can say it out loud, you can visualize it, but at the end of the day, it won't move for you. You won't get that outcome. You're going to stay exactly the same, or you can stay exactly the same, because relying on that alone isn't going to move the needle for you, because words are a conscious tool. They're up here at the 5%. Feelings are what really drive the bus here. And that's why I mentioned having the emotional memory and having a positive mental attitude always, no matter what, is the key. I'm going to draw maybe like a little key here. Maybe like that, like a little key. It's a really bad key, but the key here is the emotion and the emotional memory, and making sure that you have a positive mental attitude and that you are very even keel, okay? Because that's how you talk to the subconscious mind in terms of things happening. Something happens that you normally hear at the 10K month identity would freak out, and you would be like, oh my gosh, I just lost this client, or oh my gosh, this happened, my website's down, whatever it may be, any type of little minor challenge or inconvenience, okay? You freak out. And so then it's like you're communicating to your subconscious mind that you're not the kind of person that can be making 50K a month, because 50K a month equals more problems. And so you need to be able to look at things from a 5D perspective. Zoom out. When something happens, zoom out. Get perspective. What's going on here? Okay. Just lost his client. Okay. What can I do about it? Not much. I mean, it is what it is. I'm going to try to do what I can here to keep them, to make sure they're getting value. But if they are leaving, okay, it's a lesson for me to learn. And then I'm going to go out and get another client. So that's how you really want to be looking to communicate with your subconscious mind. How do you react when there's challenges, when there's problems? Do you freak out? Or do you say, it is what it is. I understand it, and I'm going to learn from it. And for this, I want you to understand that emotion is the ink, okay? And then identity is the page, okay? Think about that. So this is like a page, document, and then here, this ink in here, this is the emotion. And for the most part, you want it to be saying positive things and very even keel. Remember, positive mental attitude. You don't want to have these huge dips, okay? Right in here. And then secret number 3, symbols bypasses resistance. You see, the conscious mind can argue, like you can go back and forth with yourself and say, maybe this, maybe that, or what about this over here? But the subconscious mind doesn't argue. So that's why having visualizations or like a vision board. So I've created a lot of these different vision boards myself, where you have, let's say, maybe you're somewhere where it's sunny and there's like water and you're on a beach and, you know, you see yourself here, and maybe you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, maybe you're there with a significant other. And so when you can use symbols, images, graphics, especially now with AI, where you can use GPT or Claude, and you can say, hey, give me an image, a visualization of me as my next version, as someone who has a positive mental attitude, who is accomplishing all of his goals, who is doing 100K per month, right? When you can take that image and graphic and create it for you and look at it every single day, this does something to you for the subconscious mind. It bypasses the conscious mind so that you can continually see that, because then it imprints it in your mind so that you remember and you see yourself, especially when something happens, you're like, okay, I'm in an unconventional or a not so great situation. And then you can remember to the image of yourself that is that higher version and next version of yourself. And you can remember, okay, what would he do? What would she do? What would this individual do in this situation right now? And so you can use that imagery, that visualization, as an assistant for you to look at and be like, this version of me in that picture, he would be doing X, Y, and Z. He wouldn't be acting how I am normally acting currently, right? He would be acting from a positive mental attitude and have very little up and down. So it's really important to understand the value and the power of visualization and imagery, but using it in conjunction with all these others here. And then secret number 4, ritual makes it permanent. Because you can get insight, you can get information. You know, maybe you're watching this video and you're getting a bunch of different insights and perspectives and worldviews that are shifting, maybe paradigm shift. However, if you don't implement this, you don't take action on it, then it's not going to change anything. And this has been commonly understood for a very long time by different mystics and different Stoics. You know, one of the books that I love is the Marcus Aurelius, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. And they ultimately understood that it's all an inner game, and it requires a lasting inner transformation. And it's not in one single moment or another. The work is in the daily practice that tells and gives evidence to the subconscious mind that says, hey, this is who I am. Okay? I am X, I am Y, because I have the actions, the behavior to prove it. Okay? And so that is how you make it all permanent. Okay? Think about it. When you decide that you're going to be someone who is making 100K a month, and you take on that identity and you say, I am someone who makes 100K a month, and I help people in whatever way that you do that, you know, you provide service or product to, and I am providing value, I'm providing people assistance, I'm helping them in whatever way my product or service does. Okay? When you have an I am statement that lays all that out, and then you show that through your behavior, then you have all votes of confidence that say, hey, subconscious mind, like, I'm not joking, this is really who I am. And then the subconscious mind starts to change and adapt to this new version of you. And so these 4 inputs here, these 4 secrets, are really what the subconscious mind understands and responds to. The identity, the emotion, symbols, image, graphics, rituals to tell the subconscious mind that, hey, this is real. I'm actually this new version of me. That's what's going to make that long-lasting change that is not going to just focus on the 5% of the Surface level, because you're going to the root system to change. Okay, so now let's go over the subconscious reprogramming system. So let me go ahead and erase the board here, and we'll jump right in. Okay, so the ASMR subconscious reprogramming system. This is 4 steps, and each one operates directly at the subconscious level. So the first step, we're going to go with A, and it's going to be awareness of current identity. Because before you can change anything, you first have to be aware of what's currently running. And this is really important here because it's not about what you want to believe about yourself. It's about being honest and real and pulling the layers back and understanding what is your behavior reveal about who you are. Think about what is your behavior reveal about you when you have the highest stakes, when you're at a big problem, big challenge. Like, how do you show up? How do you think? What perspective do you take? Do you have a positive mental attitude, or do you have a negative one, a pessimistic, a limiting one? Because the subconscious mind doesn't show up in your best moments. It shows up where you act out of reaction, out of instinct, out of natural action, right? So whatever is going to happen in a current situation that is uncomfortable, maybe somebody rear-ended you, or maybe you lost a client, or maybe you messed up a client's campaign, whatever it may be, how do you show up in those moments? And what does your natural reaction say about who you are? Okay? So it's about taking inventory and understanding and realizing this is who I am currently. So for this, you want to ask yourself, right? What does my behavior reveal about what my subconscious believes I am? So step number 2, S, subconscious release. And what this really means is you want to dissolve the emotional charge. The emotional charge of, remember, when you're like this, you want to dissolve this. You want to be like, hey, I'm the kind of person that has a positive mental attitude and that I always am level-headed. Okay? Positive mental attitude, PMA. Okay? So this is a big component here, because with your identity, it doesn't exist as only a belief about who you believe yourself to be, right? Who you believe you are. It exists in a feeling, an emotional charge that's stuck and stays in the body, not the mind. Think about it. When something happens to you that you are like in a flight or fight mode and you're kind of freaking out, that's causing this spike here, this all lives in the body. Okay, your body's naturally reacting to that, okay? And think about this. When you can sit there and be in a mental or a positive mental attitude space and look at any problems that you're going through right now, and you can sit there and be like, I know I'm going to figure that out. It is what it is. And put your shoulders back and just chest out and say that. I'm going through this, but it's okay because I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to come out on top. That pressure is released from your body. Okay, so you want to remove that and you want to be in that physical expression of someone who is on top, right? Maybe even put your hands above your head and being like in a victorious state. The whole point here is that this release is all within the body, okay? In terms of all of this that's going up and down, and for you to normally react in a certain way, it's just like that muscle memory. And so how do you release this from the body, this emotional memory and charge? Well, I like to use breathing techniques. This has served me well throughout the many years. Inhale in 3 times, exhale out 3 times. That will immediately calm you down and bring you down quite a bit. It'll bring you down from like right here to like, you know, very calm, cool, and collected, okay? So that's how you release that. And remember, it's about practice. It's about doing it when those things happen so that you're prepared and you know what to do when you're in a tough situation. You can release that from your body. Step number 3, R, reprogramming the identity. This is where you install the new operating system, OS, right? This is the root system here. Because what happens here is that you've become aware of this current identity that you're operating at currently. You've released this emotional charge by doing the breath work. And then now you have space that this is cleared up and you're ready to install this new operating system. And this is where you need to declare your new identity through a declaration. So for example, when you're just doing like an affirmation, okay, you saying stuff like, hey, I'm this, I'm that, or I make money easily, all these different things, okay? Oftentimes it's, I'm becoming a person who does X, Y, and Z, okay? Normally affirmations are going to be something where you are talking about, I am becoming something, or I'm going to be something, but rarely is it in the actual present tense. And that's where it should be. If you're going to be doing affirmations, it always needs to be put needs, present tense. Okay? I am doing A, B, C, and D, and I'm grateful because of all of this and all of this other stuff, okay? But I normally don't see this. I normally see just, I'm becoming one day, hopefully. So you got to do affirmations correctly. But the biggest difference here in terms of an identity declaration, I am the person this outcome already belongs to. Okay? You need to have a declaration through the identity. And the way that you can think about this is this affirmation here is describing a direction. And this is describing a state, a natural state of just being, okay? Step number 4, last step. Maintenance through ritual. This is where you lock the new pattern in, okay? This is where you need to reinforce this new operating system, this new identity, right? Through small, consistent action, activity, behavior that gives communication to the subconscious mind that says, hey, this is who I am. And it's consistent all the time, day in and day out. Nothing changes. Listen, you're going to have some slip ups here and there, but for the most part, the majority of the time is you reinforcing that new version of yourself through all of those different activities, actions, behaviors, right? And one of the things that really helps with this is understanding that it's always going to be something where you need to be deliberate and consistent. And it's centered around your will, strengthening your will. And the way that you can strengthen this is by setting something that you have where you need to do every single week, no matter what. Like, let's say it's probably taking out the garbage, or maybe going to bed at a certain time, or waking up at a certain time, whatever that may be, okay? Something that you do every single week, or even better, right, daily, that you're going to do this thing every single day at this time, and no matter what you're doing, you stop and you go do that. That absolutely strengthens your will, and it helps you be able to take the action, the activities, and the behavior from this new operating system, this new identity. It'll help you take those actions a lot easier because your will is strengthened, and you have that subconscious reprogramming that has been going on that says, hey, you know what? I'm someone who does what he or she says that they're going to do. Okay? Very, very important there. It's about making sure that you're following, you're consistent, and you're taking action, and you're strengthening your will by being deliberate and precise about what you need to do, and always following through no matter what. Now, I want to ask you something. When pressure hits, who do you become? What identity is your subconscious protecting right now without your permission? What would it look like if the version of you that's doing the morning routine and the version of you that shows up under pressure was finally the same person? Because the gap between those two versions, it's not a motivation problem. It's an identity that your subconscious built before you had the awareness to choose differently. And it can be rebuilt, not by thinking harder, but by going to the layer where the identity actually lives and working there. When the layer shifts, emotion aligns, behavior follows, and the reality that you've been reaching for stops feeling like something you have to force. The subconscious doesn't block you. It protects whoever you told it you were.